Hello, welcome to the Amamanson Network. This is Nandi, and also welcome to Vibrant Authentic Living. So, I want to chat today about a topic that for most of us is a very interesting and a very important topic, right? The question, are you having too much sex? I think for most persons, that answer would be a definite no. We want to have more. We're not getting enough. For some persons, it's just never too much, never even enough. Well, I'm here to pose a question because you could be having too much sex. You could actually be having too much sex. Why do I say that? Well, I've always been someone who is spiritually inclined, and I'm very much into fasting. I'm very much into deliberately withholding things from myself as a way of maintaining discipline within myself, right? So, from a very early age, I have considered sexual abstinence. And I remember the first time I mentioned this to my spouse at the time, the person laughed so much when I suggested, maybe we could go for a period of time without involving ourselves in this very mundane and very carnal thing. It's so carnal, it's so not spiritual. Maybe we should, abstain as a couple, go for a period of time. I was laughed at. I mean, my partner laughed. He found it so funny because to him, that was just totally out of the question, right? But guess what? Eventually, after many years, it took me many years, but eventually, when I ended relations with that person, and maybe another 2 years passed after I ended with that person, I went on a period of abstinence. And this period lasted for almost 6 years. And I'm going to tell you about what that experience was for me. And in my opinion, it was a very positive, very powerful, very enriching, and enhancing period of my life to withdraw myself from sexual relations and to focus on me. And I think that a lot of us would do very well with some time alone, some time to process, especially after you've ended a relationship, especially if it was a tumultuous and painful and tedious relationship. You need some space to get your bearings back. No joke. You need some space. You need a break where you can heal. And a lot of us are going around, we are wounded, and we're going around and we're wounding others, and we keep wounding others and exposing ourselves to danger because we have not healed, we have not processed. Physically, you need that break, you need that rest. Emotionally, you need that break, you need that rest. And spiritually, you need it. It's the same as, you see, the things that we expose ourselves to, not just drugs. When we think of addiction, we tend to think, okay, it's just these powerful and harmful substances. hard drugs, right? When we think of addiction, we think of hard drugs. But there are many things in our lives that are addictive. Intercourse is one of them. And especially when we have been having intercourse with the wrong people, the people who are almost on the level of demonic. That takes some time to break from, and it's just the same as when you're trying to break from an alcohol addiction, hard drug addiction, any other kind of addiction. You're going to go through withdrawal symptoms. You're going to feel like you can't do it. You're going to feel like your body needs to have it, must have it, or you're going to die. But trust me, when you go through that period and you push yourself through it and you force yourself to ride it out, the rewards, the benefits are great. I remember being in a long-term relationship, very long-term relationship, right? And I was not happy. I did not feel cherished. I did not feel appreciated. I felt drained. I actually remember saying to the person that, I am achieving things, I'm accomplishing things in my life, but I feel like I am doing this in spite of you, not because of you. And that was a very painful thing to realize, and it was a very painful thing to say. And I honestly felt that I was achieving in spite of the person, not because of the person, or not along with the person. And I really felt drained. I knew within myself that there was this power. I knew there was this mission that I was on. I've known this from I was knee high to a grasshopper, right? I've always known and always sensed that power, and other people around me could feel and sense that power that I had and the mission that I was on this planet to accomplish. But the environment was not nurturing, it was not encouraging, it was not supportive for me. And I just felt like I was drifting through space and unable to accomplish that mission. And when I severed that relationship and gave myself that time and space, I was gradually coming into being. My sense of purpose was returning, and things just started unfolding. Things started happening. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So I wear many hats in this life, right? I came into this world on a very sacred mission, a very powerful mission. And because of that, I wear many hats. And one of those hats is that I'm a writer. That's actually my forte. That's when I feel most comfortable. That's when I feel most alive. That's when I feel closest to the divine, is when I'm writing, when I'm creating. And that gift that I had was stifled for so long. I wrote my first book. I wrote my first book when I was 13 years old. It wasn't the first book that I eventually published, but it was the first book that I wrote, right, at 13. And I think I wrote my next book when I was in my late 20s. And then I wrote 2 or 3 other books. So let's call it 5 books, right? It wasn't until I severed ties with this person that I really started, the creative juices really started flowing. I felt freer, I felt more at ease with my spirit. And between that time, so let's say between 2014 and about 3 years ago, so within a 5-year period, I published 23 books. I wrote and published 23 books. So compare that. So let's say a 17, 18-year period, 5 books. After that, within a 5-year period, 23 books. This is the kind of difference that comes with you taking time for yourself, removing yourself, distancing yourself from the things that drain you, from the things that hinder you, and you don't feel appreciated, you don't feel cherished. When you take yourself away from that and you focus on yourself, you pour your energy into yourself, it's almost an explosion, this time a positive explosion, right? Things just started happening. I just started blooming, blossoming, spilling forth, being so prolific, which is my nature. It is my nature to be prolific. As a matter of fact, one of my books is entitled Prolific, and it's that book gives details on my writing process, how I write, how I get inspiration. You know, all my books, I talk about the whole writing process, and the title of the book is Prolific, and that word sums me up. When I started my YouTube channel, this was right when the pandemic started, right? Started my first YouTube channel. I had no clue what. I'd heard about being a YouTuber, but the seed never took root, right? Never even took ground, much let alone roots. And then I started the YouTube channel, and as soon as I started, I just boom. I was doing like 15 videos per day. 15. I was doing 15 videos per day. The other day I got a notification from one of the streaming networks that I use, and the notification said, it was actually a congratulatory notification. It said, you are one of the top producers. You produce more than 90%, or in other words, you are within the top 10% of producers in terms of just the material that I put out on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. And that's just my nature, to be prolific. But I wasn't being prolific when I felt like there was a cap on my spirit. There was something stifling me. You see, the sexual energy, remember, the sexual energy is the most potent, most powerful energy that you have. That's the most potent ability you have. Out of that energy comes life. For both male and female. So I'm not just talking to women. I'm saying to men too. Don't deplete yourself. Give yourself a break. Even if you're in your steady partnership, your marriage, your long-term relationship, you don't have to be at it all the time. Give yourself a break. Conserve that life force. Rechannel that life force, and you'll be amazed at how prolific you become in other areas of your life, at how much energy you have to give to other areas of your life. Intercourse depletes energy, especially for men. And you guys, you know this, you feel drained after you release that energy. You release that literal substance from your body. You feel drained, you just want to go to sleep. Isn't that true? This is a potent, powerful force. And if you just have it, and especially if you're just giving it away as the community dick, you're the community dick, anybody can get it. Everybody has access to you. You don't value your body, you don't value that life force, that potential to create another human life. You're just randomly giving it out, giving it out, giving it out. Right? You have to conserve that. You have to reserve it for people who are deserving of it. Men, you must cherish your bodies. Cherish your bodies. Cherish that power that you have to create life. And this is why in ancient times and even now, the persons who wanted to become more spiritual, they abstained. That was part of the lifestyle. They know that they needed that discipline, they needed that time away, they needed to conserve that life force and rechannel that life force. And that's why the ascetic life often involves abstinence, right? It involves being celibate and being abstinent. But you don't have to be austere. You don't have to take it to the limit of becoming a monk or a nun or a priestess. You don't have to take it to that level. You can still be in your normal relationship, but just understand that sometimes you have to just take some time, and you don't have to be bang, 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 banging each other every day, every second of the day. For me, we are descended from animals. That's my opinion on it, right? That's my take. I am an evolutionist in my thinking, and I believe that we as humans, we have set ourselves apart by having civilization. And with civilization comes certain restrictions that they are self-imposed for the better of the group. So you can't go by your animalistic nature to randomly give your life force to anybody who comes, right? The way we see dogs do, the way we see pretty much all other animals do. For us, because we want to have a civilization and because there are codes and laws that we have all agreed we will comply with for the greater good of the species, then you have to put a rein on those animalistic urges, right? You can't just say, oh, the way we excuse men for some of the behaviors that they have. Oh, he's just a man. He's gonna be a man. Boys will be boys. Men will be men. He's gonna want to have several women. He can't help it, right? He's gonna want to. He has to have sex. He's a man. I've heard people say that he must get him sex. He's a man. What do you expect him to do? You have to rein that in. You have to have control. Abstinence is something that I really recommend, and I recommend it within relationships, and I especially recommend it at the end of a relationship where you need to take that time to be by yourself. You need to regroove. You need to set your priorities right. You need to heal. You need to heal. As we all know, when you don't heal, you have that tendency to go do it all over again. Even if at the beginning it seems like it's different. Oh, this one seems so different. Oh, he says different things. He does different things, or she does different things. She says different things. But at the end of the day, you're gonna realize, hey, I'm seeing some patterns here. I'm seeing some similarities, and you're getting more and more until you find yourself back in the same old situation that you're going to have to heal from again on top of the hurt that you didn't heal from before. You really must take that time. Give yourself that space, right? Give yourself that space. With intercourse comes a ton load of implications. On the spiritual level, we all come with spiritual baggage, things that we've been carrying with us, unsolved mysteries, unsolved crimes we bring in with us. And the spirits merge. Each partner that you have, you're merging your spirit with that person. You're taking on that person's burdens, all the problems, all the issues, as well as the good things, the good and the bad. You're taking all of that. And whenever you're in the person's presence and that physical connection takes place, that spiritual connection takes place, you're transferring yours and they're transferring theirs, and you take on that load, whether you intend to or not, whether you think you are or not, you're taking on that load. And you have to be careful, because the way things are nowadays, everybody is, a lot of people are stressed. They feel unfulfilled. They feel like, they're not getting anywhere in life. A lot of persons are going through that. Why do you want to expose yourself to that kind of aura that the person is walking around in? You are sharing aura with the person. And believe it or not, it affects you. Sometimes you feel drained and you can't explain it. I've heard people say, friends of mine have said, I just feel so exhausted. I just feel so tired. I feel like nothing is happening for me. And I've said to the person, you need to check not just what you're eating, but who you're spending time with. Check your companions, check your intimate companions. They might be the cause of your exhaustion. They might be the cause of you stalling, as well as you might be theirs. So let's not all go thinking, oh, the other person is the toxic one. Sometimes the toxicity lies with you, and you have to purge you before you go and expose other people to you. Sometimes you have to take that responsibility to purge yourself, purge your aura. Get rid of some of the baggage before you go and expose other people to you. And we have to take responsibility for that. We can't go through life thinking, oh, it's the other person. Everybody we're here, they broke up. Oh, my ex was toxic. My ex was a narcissist. It's always the other person. You have to be accountable, hold yourself accountable, and be honest with yourself. Sometimes you see these grown-ass men in their late 20s, their 30s, their 40s, and they're seeking out these younger women, and these men have nothing to offer these women. Nothing. As a matter of fact, they're looking now for this young woman in her early 20s, sometimes even as young as 18, once it's barely legal, barely on the fringe of legality. So their conscience don't tell them, okay, hooking up with that kid. Once you barely pass the age, they will get you. And these grown-ass men having done nothing with their lives, having nothing to offer to these women who are, these women to them meet all the requirements that men supposedly desire most. They have their youth, their beauty, their inexperience, right? Which men claim to want most. But what are these men offering to these women? A lot of them have nothing to offer. They have lived their lives and they have amassed nothing on the earth for the years they have been here. No material possessions, no wisdom, no education, no stability, and they want to hook up with it. You need to be honest with yourself and understand that at this point in time, you have nothing to offer anyone, and you need to go get yourself together, give yourself that space. Stop walking with your thing flat flipping, becoming a nuisance to everybody, and becoming a bother and a detriment to people. Zip it up, keep it locked away, take some time off, and get yourself together so that you can have something to offer. You can have something to bring to the table. So when you see the person whom you most desire, you are worthy of that person. What do you look like, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, and you're going to this person who's just starting life, and you want this young, fresh, green person, and you have nothing to offer them? You want them to come now and to build with you from scratch? We have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to be fair to other people. Be fair to other people. Keep yourself to yourself until you sort out the issues that need to be sorted out. Don't become a nuisance to society by throwing yourself around to everybody and damaging more persons. And sometimes the damage that we cause to people is lifelong damage, irreparable damage. Sometimes they're barely able to recover, to recuperate from the damage. And all for what? 5 minutes of pleasure? Because for some of you, that's all you can't even last more than 5 minutes. So you're exposing people to lifelong damage for 5 minutes of pleasure. Is that fair? Is that a fair exchange? We have to rein ourselves in. We have to have that discipline. I strongly suggest for both males and females, take some time to be abstinent. You are not going to die. It's still going to be here when you're done. I remember when I was going through that 5.5 years of abstinence, I used to tell, random, usually like my close friends, or even I think once in a while I made a post about it on Facebook, because I express myself like that, right? I have no qualms about talking about certain issues. I have no fear and I have no qualms. And persons would make comments like, are you nuts? Are you crazy? Why would you do that to yourself? And this has nothing to do with not being offered. There were plenty of offers. There were persons men, a lot of men You can't even use the fact that they come on to you. You can't even use that even as a gauge to even feel any kind of way because some of them have no standards anyway. So it's like they'll ask anyone. But then there are men who you know have standards, and when they approach you, you know there's something to it. So it wasn't for lack of being approached, it wasn't for lack of opportunity. I just chose to give myself that time. And when I felt like I was fit and ready to break from that, then I did. And the experience for me was overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. A lot of things we tell ourselves we can't do without, and we can. Just like with fasting. Maybe it was easier for me because of my history of fasting, having started fasting as a teenager and gradually building up to the point where now it's like nothing for me. Right now, I am in the middle of a grape juice fast. This is day 35 of my 40-day grape juice fast. For 35 days, all I have had is grape juice with some ginger and lemon, and I've eaten grapes, and that's it. Nothing else. I've been on many different types of fast. I do dry fasting sometimes. I do water fasting for many days. Coconut water fasting for many days and weeks. So yes, I know from my history of fasting, which is a discipline unto itself, that may have made it easier for me to do almost 6 years of abstinence. But you can do it too. You tell yourself you can't do, like in Jamaica. In Jamaica here, we have it's part of our culture to we tend to think you can't do without food any at all. If a Jamaican has to miss breakfast, it's like they're going to die. They will literally tell you they feel like they're going to die. It's a mental thing. Even at my school, if the child doesn't finish the work and they have to, you don't send them for lunch until the work is finished. The parents will raise hell. Oh, my child is like, the child is gonna die. And you say, listen, the child won't die if they have to wait a bit and finish up the work before they go to eat. But it's just a cultural thing we have. Your grandma will tell you, make sure you eat, make sure you drink tea, make sure, or they literally feel like you're going to die. And this is just one meal we're talking about, right? Let alone to go days or weeks. And it's the same with intercourse, especially for men. They have been raised to believe that it's just something you cannot do without you're going to die. Maybe your balls are gonna drop off, your tilly willy is gonna drop off, so it's gonna stop working if you don't get it. Or they might feel, well, they might feel that they're not a macho man. What you think I am, like you're soft or you're becoming girly if you don't show that you have that virility, you want it, and it's stand up every morning, you have to stand up stiff every morning, or but we suffer from it, physically, especially men, and this is one of the reasons why our men are dropping out like flies by the time they reach 40s. answer to it, and they rev it out. And these are the same men who will tell women that she's revving herself out. She's getting loose because she having many partners. The same thing is happening to you. And when you get to your late 30s, early 40s, and it's not functioning, you're going to be traumatized. You probably won't be able to cope. When it's not obeying, it's not doing what you're telling it to do. When your heart is saying one thing and your eyes are saying one thing and your brain saying go, and it's not going. It's because you're revving it too much in your youth. You must conserve a little bit, hold back a little so you'll have it for an extended time. And so your partner can get some satisfaction for an extended time. It's just like when you win the lottery. I think for most men, with the sexual lottery, they want the lump sum. For most men, they want the lump sum right now. Give me all of it right now. Nobody's saying, let me take a little bit now, a little bit now, a little bit now for a long time. They rev it. They want the lump sum. They want everything now, and they're going to spend it off, and then it's done. Spend it off, and it's done by you, and then you start fret. Walk around with your mouth long. You don't know what to do because this is your life. This is the center of your life. This is your manhood. This is your reason for being on the planet. And it's not doing what you're telling it to do. Some men can't handle that. There are guys who offer to take the gradual payments, and they get to enjoy it for longer. They conserve, they think about the future. They think that, okay, if I'm gonna be here for a while, I want it also to be here with me for the while so we can both enjoy the while. So we have to think in conservation, and that's why we're wrecking the planet too. We're not thinking in terms of conservation. We're thinking in terms of instant gratification. No, everything no, and we're not thinking to preserve and to conserve. We all must try to conserve our energy. Don't waste it. I always think, in your youth, you waste so much of your love, so much of your energy on people who no longer even matter to you, people who you despise, people who you think of now as toxic and narcissistic. And you see the memes. I saw this meme. I would rather, instead of dating my ex again, I would rather go home and boil rice 1 grain at a time, or I will do this, some tedious, impossible thing. I would rather do that. These people who you would not touch with a 20-foot pole at this point, they get the best of you. Think about it. They got the best of your energy, the best of your everything. And then when you finally decide to settle with the one, what do you give to that one? What does that one get? Think about it. They get the dregs. They get the dilapidation. They get the worn out, the revved out. Is that fear? Especially if the one has been conserving and preserving themselves. Is that fear now to get the worst of you, the dregs of you, the bottom of the barrel of you? We have to think in terms of conservation, guys. Think long term. You want to be on the planet for long. You want to have good things to give. When you are in your wisdom, you have, yes, you want to gain experience, but you don't want to give it all up, give all your goods up. You want to have some good to hand over to the persons who deserve it, who they too are coming with their wisdom, their experience, their stability. You want to be able to give them something good, just as you want something good. So if it means taking some time off, do some reflection, write in your journal, you know, do some me time. Maybe you don't have to go 5.5 years like I did, right? Take a couple of months, couple of weeks, couple of months, a year. It's not impossible. Believe me, it is not impossible to do. And it's highly beneficial to do. You literally are conserving your life force. Literally conserving your life force. You are rechanneling that life force. And remember, the life force is the most powerful, the most potent force that you will ever have in your hands. That's the most power you have in your hand to create another human life, to merge at least half of the potential, to create another human life. Don't waste it. Don't take that for granted. That's as close to the divine as you're going to get. That's as close to the creator, that creative power. That's as close as you're ever going to get. Don't take it for granted. Don't tell yourself you can't do it. If you're leaving, if a relationship has ended, take some space, take some time. Travel by yourself. Go to a restaurant by yourself. Go on a date. Go to the movies by yourself. Go to the beach by yourself or with friends. It doesn't always have to be an intimate kind of thing. You don't always have to have somebody up in your face. Some people can't sleep alone. You should be able to sleep alone and feel comfortable, feel happy. Companionship is good, it's a great thing, but you must be able to do it alone. You were born alone, you're going to leave this planet alone. You are here on your journey. Yes, we walk with others, but each of us is here on our personal journey. And push come to shove, you must be able to stand your ground on your own. Right? So this is my advice to you. Take some time. Abstinence is a wonderful thing. And if you're in the position where you see where it is necessary to do it. Do it. And sometimes you have to enforce that necessity upon your life. So you know what? We're just gonna chill for a while. I need to just regroup. I need that space. Do that for yourself. And trust me, you will feel that power. You will feel that divine power inside you. Until we chat again, this is Nandi. Go on over to Vibrant Authentic Living on YouTube and subscribe. Next week, we'll talk about some other relevant topic that has to do with lifestyle. And next week also will be the end of my grape juice fast. So I definitely will be telling you how that went, right? So this is Nandi.